interface concept. Okay, now in the last session we have talked about the abstract class, right? Abstract methods. So what is abstract class? Abstract, can anyone please explain what is abstract class?
Abstract class.
One by one.
Abstract class is a class that is declared as abstract keyword.
What
The
is
abstract
the speciality
class
of
may
abstract class?
or may not abstract class may or may not contain abstract method. Means in abstract class inside the abstract method present and the abstract method in abstract method does not have any body.
Okay. So, see, abstract class means what? Abstract class is a class which we are declaring with the abstract keyword, and that abstract class can have abstract methods or even non-abstract method. Meaning is that when we are saying abstract method means the method which doesn't have the body, only declaration is present. Okay, now in the abstract class we can have the abstract method and we can have the concrete methods as well. Concrete methods means the methods which have the body, right? So when we should go for the when we should go for the abstract class, when we have the partial implementation means what? We have some abstract method and we also know the implementation for some concrete methods. Okay, so when you are aware about the partial implementation, that time you can go for the abstract methods or abstract class. Now the other concept is the interface. Now what is the interface? So interface means what? Actually the interface is the service agreement between the client and service provider. Okay, now let's understand what is meaning of service agreement. Okay, meaning is that, let's suppose, let me just open the IntelliJ. Okay, let me just close this one. Let's create one package here and give the name as interface examples. Now inside this interface, let's create one class. Okay, let's give the name as a demo class. Okay, so see, let's suppose we have one abstract class. Okay, abstract class, and let's suppose the name of the abstract class is student. Okay, now inside this abstract class we can have abstract methods. Meaning is that, let's suppose abstract void m1. Okay, now this is one abstract method which doesn't have any implementation. Okay, now why we have written this m1 method here as a abstract? Because we don't know the implementation about this, right? Now let's suppose here, or let's take some other example like animal, which we already discussed. Like animal is the class I have, and let's suppose here I want to print the name of the animal. Okay, now if you see inside this animal class, if we want to print the name of the animal, for this point we are not clear about the name of the animal, right? Currently this is just the animal class and we are not sure about which animal we are talking, right? So when you are not sure about the implementation, that time you create the method as a abstract. Okay, but let's suppose here you want to create any other concrete method, that time you can create it. Let's suppose here I am creating m1 method and here I want to provide some method body. Okay, let's suppose test m1. Okay, so for this m1 method we know the implementation, that's why we have returned the body. But for this name of the animal we don't know the implementation, that's why we have created it as a abstract class. That's the reason we call the abstract class, or we use this abstract class when we know the partial implementation. Partial means what? This implementation we know, but for this method we don't know the implementation, meaning partial implementation. Okay, but let's suppose if we don't know anything about the implementation, then what we should do, right? So in that case they have introduced the interface. Interface means if you don't know anything about the implementation, then we should go for the interface. Interface means what? It is the service agreement between service provider and client. Meaning is that, let's suppose you are the client. Okay, let's just remove this abstract class, and here let's create one interface. Very first, let's understand how to create the interface. For the abstract class, we use the abstract keyword to create the abstract class. Now we want to create the interface. So to create the interface, we will be using interface keyword. Now here we have to give the name of the interface. Let's suppose I am giving the name as a calculator interface. Okay, so see, this way we can create the interface. So now this is our calculator interface. Now what this interface will do, inside this interface we can only write the method declaration. We cannot write the method body. So interface is a collection of methods which doesn't have the method body, right? We can write the definition like this: interface is a collection of methods which does not have method body, right? If we have only the declaration of the method, okay, and we don't have the method body or the implementation, then we should go for the interface. For example, let's suppose here I am writing the method as a void m1, right? So this way we can write any number of methods inside the interface, but we should always close with the semicolon. If you try to write the body, then it will give you the error. Why? Because in the interface you cannot write the implementation. Okay, that is the rule. Very first rule is that inside the interface you just declare the method, you cannot write the implementation of the method. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, now the other thing is that means interface, we call it as the agreement. Okay, agreement between the service provider and client. For example, let's suppose there is one client want to create the calculator. Okay, now whenever, let's suppose, if you take any example, let's suppose even in the company also, if we are working on any project, that project or that work we are getting from clients, right? For example, let's suppose in the real time, if we talk about the example, let's suppose if we take the example of your college only. Okay, from your college, let's suppose there is a requirement to create the website of your college. Okay, now that requirement is coming from your college, so maybe your college will be client, and if they want to create the website and if they want to assign that work to some smaller company, okay, so they will go to the company and they will ask, can you please create the website for our college, right? So in this case, in this case, your college, or maybe whoever, maybe principal or any some person who is taking the responsibility to create the website of your college, will go to that company and they will ask, can you please create the website for my college? Okay, so your college will be the client. Okay, and then the company which will be creating that website is the service provider, because that company will be providing the service to create that website, right? Website creation is one service which that company will be providing to your college. Okay, now when your college will give the requirement to that service provider or maybe to that company, they don't know about the implementation, they just want to create the website, but how that website will get created, they don't know, right? Maybe they are not the technical person. Okay, so only what they will say, let's suppose they want to create the website, so they will like giving the requirement, I want the website for my college. In that website I want to show all the student data. Okay, then I want to show all the department. Okay, then I want to see all the teacher information, so see teacher or maybe staff info. Okay, so maybe there are hundreds of methods or hundred of features they want, like if we talk about some features, first let's suppose they want to see all the student details, they want to see how many departments we have inside our college, they just want to organize the departments, they just want to organize the staff information. If someone want to see the details of the staff, then they should able to see that details from the website, right? So these are some methods or these are some features they want from that service provider. Okay, but now if you see the college in college guy, or let's suppose the principal or whoever is giving that requirement to the company, they don't know about the internal implementation, they don't know how the student data will get stored there, how that data will be displayed, or how the department will be stored, in which format it will be displayed, where that will be stored, they don't know about these things, right? That's the reason inside the interface we only write the method declaration or the services, whatever services you want to provide. Okay, now if we take the example of our interface, which is a calculator interface, now this calculator interface will provide the services. What are the services? Let's suppose this interface want to provide the service int add. Okay, so what is the service? This interface will just provide the service to add two numbers. Okay, so this is one method. Now how you will be adding that numbers, this interface doesn't know, this calculator interface doesn't know how you will be adding these two numbers. It only aware that this service is created to add two number. Now who will add this two number and how these two numbers will be added, that is the responsibility of the class which implement this interface, right? In the case of abstract class, if you remember, whenever we are creating or whenever we are declaring the abstract methods, that time that abstract class doesn't know the implementation of that abstract method, but whatever method is extending that abstract class is responsible to provide the implementation for that abstract method. Same way in the interface, whenever we are writing the services or the methods inside the interface, that time the implementation will be provided by the class who will implement the interface, not extend. Okay, inside the interface we implement it, we don't extend the interface. Are you clear with this?
Yes,
Any questions? Any confusion, everyone? What is interface? Are you clear, like high level, what is the interface and how we create the interface?
एकदा परत सांगा ना.
Okay, Dipali, you understood?
Yes.
Okay, now let me just explain it again. See, interface means what? Interface means the collection of methods which doesn't have any body. Okay, now why these methods are not having the body? Because they are not aware about the implementation yet. Implementation means what? See, this method is created to add two numbers, but how these two numbers will get added is like that thing is not aware of. This calculator interface doesn't know about the implementation, how to add this two number. That thing is not aware to this interface. Okay, that's the reason we are just declaring the method, we are not providing the implementation. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone clear, right? Simple word, like only in the one word. If we talk about the interface means what? The, like, whatever services you want to provide. Services means what? See, I am teaching you, right? So this teaching is one service which I am providing to you, right? Then let's suppose any other service. Okay, let's suppose if we have this facility, transport facility, right? So what the transport people will do, they will just come to home, they will take the employee, and they will just like provide the transport service. They will take that employee to the office. So that is one service, transport service, right? So that those are the services. Now how the services will get provided, that is task of the class which implement this interface. In this case also we have one service which will add two numbers. Now how these two numbers will be added is decided by the class which implement this interface. Okay, now let's suppose here I have one class. Okay, and let's give the name of the class as addition. Now see, whenever we want to extend or whenever we want to use the parent class features or parent class variables or methods, that time we do the extend, right? We use extends keyword, and then we create a parent and child relationship. In case of interface, we have to use implements keyword. Okay, so this class addition will implements this interface. Okay, so here we can write the interface name, calculator interface. Now whenever we are implementing the interface, okay, then it's mandatory that you should provide the implementation for this method, right? Here you have just declared it, but now as you have implemented this interface, you need to provide the implementation for that method. Now how we will provide the implementation? Here we can write int, this method name is add. Here we have to pass two parameters, and then here you need to add two numbers. So let's suppose here I will return I plus j, right? Sorry, so here you will return I plus j. Okay, what this is saying, attempting to assign a weaker. Okay, sorry. So see, one more thing which I want to tell you, that whenever inside the interface, let's suppose here we have created the calculator interface, I have written the method int add, and here I have passed two parameters. Now if we are not writing any access modifier, then what will be the default one? Default, right? Yes. So but in case of interface, like when you are using this access specifiers in the class, okay, that time it is okay that if you are not writing any access modifier, then default will be the default one. Okay, but in the interface, if even if you are writing any access modifier or not, see here I have not written any access modifier, still the default will be public, okay, and abstract. Okay, so one more rule or one more thing which you know, which you should know about the interface is that inside the interface every method is always public and abstract. Clear? Inside the interface every method is always public and abstract. Even if you are not writing here public abstract, still compiler will add this public abstract for you. Okay, so this is your method. Now see here, I am not writing this. Okay, then compiler internally will add public and abstract, but here you have implemented the interface inside the class. If you are not writing any access modifier, then it will be default, right? And here it is public, right? Let's suppose, let me add it, public abstract. So if you have the method access specifier as a public, and in the implementation class, if you are creating it as a default, if you are not writing it inside the class, then it will be the default one. So you cannot regrade or reduce the visibility, right? This is also a method overriding, and inside the method overriding you cannot reduce the accessibility or visibility. Here you have the public and here you are trying to make it default. Public means accessible to everyone anywhere. Default means accessible in current package only. Okay, so here you are reducing the visibility and that is not allowed in the overriding. That's the reason you are getting error. What is the error? See, add method inside the addition clashes with add method attempting to assign a weaker access privilege. Package private was public. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, let me just make it public. See here, if this is a public, okay, then whenever you are overriding the method, that time you have to make it public only. You cannot reduce the visibility. This rule is already clear in the method overriding concept, right?
Yes, sir.
Is this clear to you? First point, what is interface? Second point, inside the interface, every method is always a public and abstract. If you try to write here, let's suppose private, then it will give you the error. Why? Private access modifier you cannot use with the abstract, right? Abstract means what? Abstract means you have to override this method in the implementation class, or if you are using the abstract method in the abstract class, then you have to override this method in the child class. And if you are making it as a private, then how you will able to access this method in the implementation class, right? That's the reason inside the interface you can never write the private method. Always you need to write it public. Okay,
Yes.
clear these 2 points?
Yes.
Okay, now let's suppose I want to add one more method here. Okay, let's suppose I want to add public abstract int and subtraction. I want to just subtract two numbers. Okay, let's suppose n1 and n2. Okay, so this is my method which I have added now. So if you have more than one method or even any number of method, then if you are implementing that interface, then you have to provide implementation of all the methods, not only the single method. Okay, always you have to provide the implementation for all the methods. Okay, see here what error you are getting. Class addition must either be declared as an abstract or implement abstract method sub, which is taking two integer type parameters inside the calculator interface. So it is saying that you have implemented the calculator interface, okay, and inside the calculator interface you have one method add and you have one abstract method sub. You have implemented the add method, that is good, but you forget to implement this subtraction method. Now you have two choices. One is to provide the implementation for this sub method, or you can create this class as an abstract. Let's suppose I am making this class as an abstract. Let's suppose here class abstract. See here, as soon as I create the class, okay, let me just see what is, sorry, see here, as soon as I create this addition class as an abstract, then that error will be gone. Why? Because if you are creating the class as an abstract, meaning is that I am not sure about the full implementation. For now, I just know about this add method implementation, but I am not aware about this subtraction method. Okay, that's the reason I am making this class as an abstract. Now, Who will provide the implementation for this sub method? What do you think? Hello?
Addition extract class.
No, who will provide the implementation for this method? You can create the another class subtraction. That class can implement this interface. Okay, now see here. Okay, this class will implement this calculator interface. Okay, now see, if you are implementing this interface here, okay, then also here you have to provide the implementation for both the methods. Okay, see here, let's suppose if I provide the implementation for only the subtract method, so public int sub, and let's suppose it is taking two parameters, so n1 comma int n2, and then here I just want to return n1 minus n2. See here, even if you are just providing the implementation for sub method, still inside the subtraction class, if you are implementing the interface, then that is the rule is that you have to provide the implementation for all the classes, sorry, implementation for all the methods. Okay, so here you have to provide the implementation for add method as well. So you can write public int add, it will take two parameters, int I and int j, and then here we can just return I plus j. Okay, so here you have to provide implementation for both the methods. Now the another way is that you can create the another class. That class will extend this addition, okay, addition class, and inside that class you can provide the implementation for this subtraction method. Clear?
Yes.
Everyone should be clear what is interface, how to create interface. Inside the interface each method is public and abstract. Okay, and if you are implementing any interface, then always you have to provide the implementation for all the methods whatever you have written inside the interface. Clear this much?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
now let's try to understand why each and every method is public and abstract inside the interface. Okay, if we just open this inside the drawing mode, see here, every method inside the interface is public and abstract. Okay, very first let's understand why it is public always. Okay, see, what do you think, why this is public always? Anyone, any thoughts?
It to another class.
Yes, so inside the interface we don't have fully implementation, we just have the declaration. Okay, we have just created the method but we have not provided the implementation, and that implementation will provided by the class which we are implementing, right? So see, subtraction class implementing the calculator interface, addition class implementing the calculator interface. Now if you don't make this as a public, then how you will able to access this inside this addition class, right? That's the reason you should always make it public so that it is accessible to the implementation classes. Now why this is abstract? Abstract because you don't have the implementation. Okay, so if you don't know the implementation, then you should create it as a abstract, right? So that the classes which are implementing this interface can provide the implementation for this method. Okay, that is the reason this is public and abstract. You cannot create it as a private or any other modifier. Okay, now are you clear with this, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let me just delete this. Okay, and now we have talked about the interface and interface method. Okay, now the one more thing is that, which is the variables. Okay, see here we have this calculator interface. Okay, inside this calculator interface we can have the variables as well. Okay, let's suppose I have the variable int I. Okay, and if you see here, always the variable which we are creating inside the interface, it should be public static final. Okay, and you should always assign the value to this variable. Inside the interface you can create the variables, but those variables will always be public static final, and whenever you are declaring the variable, that time only you should assign the value also. If you don't assign the value, you will get the error. And what is the error? Variable I might not have been initialized. So always in the interface, initialization and declaration should happen at a same time or at a time only. Clear? Two rules. One is about the interface methods. What is the rule? Interface method should always be public and abstract. Second rule about the interface variable. What is the rule? Interface variable should always be public static final, and whenever we are creating the variable, that time only we should initialize it as well. Clear about these two major points?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next thing is that, see, we have the inside the interface we have the variable, inside the interface we have the methods. Now third point is that how we can access those methods and those variables. Okay, same as a abstract class. See, for the abstract class also we don't have the implementation. So if we don't know about the implementation, then how you will create the object, right? The same way for the interface also we cannot create the object. Okay, because inside the interface we are not writing the implementation, we just have the declaration. Okay, implementation will be written by the classes which are implementing this interface. Okay, so by using these classes you can access these methods, and another way is that by using the class name also you can access the methods and variables. For example, let's suppose here inside this addition class, okay, or let's suppose here I want to just create one more class, and let's give the class name as a demo. Okay, sorry, I think here we have the demo class already created. So let's suppose here I have the demo class, right? Inside this demo class I want to access this I variable from this calculator interface. Okay, so let's create the main method here, and inside this main method if I write sout and I, see here what will happen. It is saying that I cannot resolve, or this demo class doesn't know about the I interface. Now how you will able to access it? So you can access it by using the interface name. So interface dot I, see here, if you are writing the interface dot I, then it will go to this interface, it will access this I variable. Okay, that's the reason this variable is made as a public. Very first, okay, very first let's understand why this I variable is public, static and final. Public we already know, because inside the interface we are not sure about the implementation. So if we are not sure about the implementation, then anyway any class will implement this interface, provide the implementation. So if you want to make all these things visible to those implementation classes, then you should have it as a public. The second thing is about the static. Why this variable is static? Because for this interface we don't create the object, right? Now if you are not creating the object, then how you will able to access it? Okay, so for this interface, by using the interface name, if you want to access it, then you can use it, like you can make it as a static means what? You can use the static variable, static methods by using class name, right? In the class context, if we have the class and you want to access the static variable or static methods, then you can use the class name. Same way, inside the interface, to access the static variable, you can use the interface name. Now we have made it as a final. Why? Because see, this I variable, okay, will be common for all the classes whatever are implementing this interface. Meaning is that if I just open the whiteboard mode, okay, and if I try to explain you here, see, let's suppose here I have one interface. Let's suppose interface interrupt. Okay, let's take any name, and inside this interface I have created one variable I, and I have assigned the value as 45, right? Now inside this interface I have the method void m1, or maybe let's suppose void add. This is my method. Okay, let's suppose I have another method void sub, right? So these are two methods I have inside my interface. Now if you are not writing here anything, or even if you are writing, it will be always, methods will be always public and abstract, right? And for the variable it will always public, then static, final. Okay, now we know that why it is public and static. Now let's understand why it is final. Okay, so this is one interface which have the add and sub method. So now what I will do, I will create one class. Let's suppose public class addition. Okay, so this addition is a class which will implement this interface interrupt. Okay, now if you are implementing the interface, you have to provide the implementation for all the methods. But now let's suppose in this class I want to provide implementation for only one method, so I have to create this class as a abstract, right? So I will make this class as a abstract, and here I will just provide implementation for one method which is add. Okay, let's suppose here some implementation is there. Same way I will create the another class, and name of the class will be maybe subtraction. Okay, and this subtraction class also will implement this interface. Okay, this interface. Now if you are implementing it, then you have to provide implementation for all the methods, but inside this class I know only about the sub method, so let me make this class as a abstract, and then here I will just provide implementation for sub method. Okay, now if you see here, we have one interface. Inside this interface I have the value of I as a 45. This interface implementing two like this interface is implemented by two classes. One class is about the addition and another class is about the subtraction, right? Now we are making this variable as a final, so that the same value whatever you have for this I variable should be present inside this addition class, and same will be there for the subtraction. We should not have the different values for the addition class and different value for the subtraction class, because same variable is shared between two classes, and if you are not making it final, then what will happen? This addition class may reassign the value of this I from 45 to 52, and this subtraction will may assign to 56, right? So there will not be the concrete or the same value. Final means what? You cannot reassign it. Okay, so if you are sharing the same thing between two classes, then you should share it as the same way. You cannot change it, you cannot modify it. Okay, and to restrict that, we are making it as a final. Clear now? Everyone, is it clear
Yes,
or it
ma'am.
is making you
Yes.
like, are you
Yes.
confused?
Clear, ma'am.
Everyone clear, right?
Yes, clear.
Okay, so we are making this as a final. Static means what? It will be shared with all the classes. Same copy will be shared with all the classes whatever are implementing this interface. Final we are making so that it will be same as whatever you are sharing. Okay, and even if someone is trying to modify it, then it is not allowed. Final means you cannot reassign the value, right? So that's why we are making it as a final. Okay, now what was the point? Okay, here. Okay, so we have created it as a public static final, and if you want to access it, then you can access by using the interface name. Okay, are you clear with all the points till now?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay, now let me open this one, the presentation. Let's see what are the points we have covered. Very first one, about the interface. Methods inside the interface are always public and abstract. We know that. Now, why it is public and abstract, that is also I explained you. Variable inside the interface are always public, static and final. And why these are public, static, final, we already know that. Okay, now the second thing is that for the interface variables, compulsory we should perform the initialization at the time of declaration. Otherwise, we will get the compile time error. Clear this point? Inside the interface,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you are declaring any variable, then always you have to initialize the value also. If you don't initialize the value, then you will get the compile time error. So in the interface, if you want to create any variable, always declare and do the initialization at the same time. Otherwise, you will get the compile time error. Okay. Now, the second point is that if two interfaces contain the method with the same signature but different return types, then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Let me explain you this point. Method signature. What is the meaning of method signature? Anyone remember? No?
No return type.
Method name.
Let me just open it in the whiteboard. Okay, and let's just remove all this thing. Just a minute. Let's suppose I have one method public void m1 int I comma int j. Inside this method, what is the method signature? Anyone? What is method signature here?
M1 and parameter. M1 and parameter.
Yes. So this is method signature, right? And this is return type. Okay. Now, clear, Pitambari? What is method signature? Dipali, clear? Method signature contain only method name and parameters. It will not contain the return type. Okay. Now, let's delete this. what this question is saying, let's suppose I have an interface here. Let's suppose my interface is interface 1 and here I have interface 2. This is my interface 1, this is my interface 2, and inside this interface, let's suppose I have the method void m1, and inside this interface I have the method int m1. Okay, and let's suppose I have one class here which is demo, and this demo class is implementing interrupt 1 and interrupt 2. One more point is that we only extend one class, but inside the interface we can implement any number of interfaces. Okay, now here if you are implementing interface 1 and interface 2, then what is the compulsory thing? Compulsory is that you should provide implementation for this and you should provide implementation for this as well. But inside the interface, if you have the method with the same signature but only the return type is different, then it is impossible to implement it in the implementation class. Let's see if it is true or false. Okay, let me just open this and let's save this and create the another interface. Let's create here, let me just rename it. Okay, introduction interface. Okay, sorry. Okay, now let's create one more class here, and let's give the class name as test. Inside this test class, let's create first one interface, give the name as interrupt1. Inside this interrupt1 I have one method void m1. Okay, and I have the another interface, let's suppose interface 2, and inside this interface 2 I have the same method, only the return type is different. Now this test class is implements the interrupt 1 and it is implementing the interrupt 2. Okay, then see here what it is saying. It is saying that it should declare the class as an abstract or implement the abstract method m1. Okay, now let's implement the method. Let's suppose void m1, and here if I write, let's suppose or even if we don't write, see here what it is saying. Attempting to assign the weaker access privilege. Okay, let me write it as a public. Okay, what it is saying now, duplicate class interrupt 1. Okay, let me create it as a interrupt 2. See here what it is saying, that attempting to use the incompatible return type. Do you know the meaning of incompatible? We have already seen this, right? Attempting to use the incompatible return type. Incompatible means what? It is not compatible. M1, see here, M1 method we have the return type as a void. Then interface 2 we have the return type as a int. Here you have implemented both the interfaces, but when you are overriding it, right? See here what you are doing, this is method overriding only, right? This is method m1 and you are just overriding here. But inside the method overriding, what is the rule for the return type? Anyone remember the rule for return type? No? Om, Dipali, Pitambari, you don't remember the rule for the return type in the method overriding? If we want to override the method, then what should be the same return type, right? and from
Same
1.5
method,
we
then
can
same
have
type.
the covariant return type. हे आहे का नाही लक्षात covariant return type?
Yes, ma'am.
आहे ma'am.
पितांबरी?
आहे ma'am.
Okay, so see here also inside the interface also the same thing will apply, because here also you are overriding the method, and if you override the method, then here you have the void, here you have the int. Void and int is not possible, right? Void and int doesn't have any relationship, and if you want to override the method, then it should always be void, or maybe it should always be int. Both the method return type should be same. Otherwise you can have the covariant, but these are the void and int doesn't have any covariant return type, right? Are you
Yes, ma'am.
getting it or
Yes, ma'am.
confused? See,
Clear, ma'am.
if I just read this statement again, if, let me just even I can copy this, go to here and place. Okay, see here. If two interface contain the method with the same signature but different return type. So here I have two interfaces, interface 1, interface 2. What it is saying, if I have two interfaces with the same method signature. So here we have the same method signature M1 and M1, but different return type, So here we have the different return types, first void, then int. If you have the two methods, exactly same method signature, but only the return type is different, then it is impossible to implement both interfaces simultaneously. Meaning is that if you have two interfaces with the same method signature but return types are different, then you cannot implement that both the interfaces simultaneously. Okay, you can implement it one by one. If you just implement the one interface, then it will not give you the error, but if you try to implement it at a time, then it will give the error. Are you clear with this statement and the example,
Yes, ma'am.
everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Pitambari, clear आहे?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now this statement is clear. Now return type should be covariant. Means if you don't have the same return type, you can use the covariant. Covariant meaning is that if you have the first like object, then you can always use the string buffer that way, because object and string are the covariant. Okay, so those are the concepts or the points related to the interface. Now we have some more. Okay, we have some more in-depth scenarios related to the interface, so that we will take in the tomorrow's session. Okay, so today we will stop here, and tomorrow we will again start with the remaining concepts related to the interface. If you don't have any questions, then maybe we can conclude the class today, and we will